Sorry about that. I was just trying out something for the upcoming Halloween season. So, are you persnickety of your pairing of pumpkins? Do you feel you want a grand gesture of your gourd? Do you know Jack about jack-o'-lanterns? And finally, do you feel like savagely slashing a squash, a scary semblance of someone? Then look no further. Here at the Hickory Drive Pumpkin Carving Council, or the HDPCC, we are looking for your favorite carving. Send me a pic or a short video of your work and the work you've done, and I'll present it here on my show. The HDPCC will judge the best carved pumpkin, and that best carved pumpkin will win a prize. That's right, your creativity will be rewarded. So send in yours today. Post a comment when yours is ready for me, and I'll give you the address to send it to. Good luck and happy carving. Now back to what I was doing. Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. Why is it in the air? Because you never know what's going to come up and you never know what's going to go down. So, I want to give a shout out to all the new exciting people who have joined my viewing my podcast. Welcome. I know a lot of you came from the Honeybee Quilt Shop newsletter. And so, shout out to everyone there, to the owners of Honeybee, and to everybody who has joined. I hope you like the show. Please feel free to comment in the threads and comments below on my podcast of anything that you might would like to see, any additional crafting, any additional beers, any additional breweries that you might like me to go visit. And as you saw in the beginning, I think there was a little advert for a pumpkin carving contest that I am now throwing. And will be actually sponsored by Javier in the Air, and we'll have a gift card prize. And so I hope that many of you will show your creativity and put out a pumpkin. Send me a photo with your name on there. You don't have to use your last name. You can just put your name on there, and I will get it into the podcast by the end of October. Hopefully, I will have enough that we can judge from, and then the best of show will win the prize. So I will continue to talk about it in all the future podcasts until the contest is over. So, and by the way, there's no real rules other than it has to be you or someone in your family carving the pumpkin. It doesn't have to go all the way through. It doesn't have to be a jack-o'-lantern. You can make it any way you want. Any tools you want to use, if you want to really spice it up and make it some kind of great exhibition, be my guest. So, now, this week's episode, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is. We're going to be doing yoga and beer. So, of course, we always have the beer, but this time I'm excited to bring you a friend of mine who is a yoga instructor here in the Austin Cedar Park area. And so she has been doing it for quite some time. And she was nice enough to come on the show and be interviewed by me. And so I'm going to go ahead and take it over there to that interview. So let's hear and talk about yoga. Take it away, interview, Hob. Hey, thanks, Podcast Hub. So, everybody, today we are here to talk about yoga. So, I am going to let my lovely interviewee talk about herself and introduce herself, and then we'll go from there. So, why don't you go ahead and and introduce yourself?
Oh, I get to talk about myself. That's exciting. So my name's Miranda Goins. I am by day a project manager at a software company. And then my fun job is a yoga instructor. And I've been teaching yoga for since 2012 is when I started teaching yoga. And now, oh, I just dropped my
Ooh,
AirPod. Okay, there we
there
go.
you go.
So yeah, so I'm a yoga instructor, teach part-time for a studio here in Austin.
Okay. Do you want to mention the studio, or I mean, you can if you want.
Yeah,
Sure. Go
yeah,
ahead.
for
Talk about it.
sure. Yeah. It's Yoga Pod, and we have in-person classes and virtual classes right now. So a little bit
Okay.
of both, with a little bit of a modified schedule, of course, and modified attendance and stuff. But so I'm just teaching virtually right now. I'm still not ready to go back in.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. So let's talk a little bit about how you got to where you were as far as starting to instruct yoga. So what led you to yoga, and then what led you to wanting to instruct yoga?
Cool. So it's really an interesting way that I got into yoga. So I was a Zumba instructor first, and I was teaching at a studio here. And then there was an opportunity to get certified in this format that was based on yoga, but it was like yoga and cardio and dancing and stuff. And it was a really good deal to get certified in it. So I started teaching that. And from that, I just wanted to be a better instructor. And so I started to take yoga classes because I'd never really actually been into yoga. I was like, it's too slow, it's boring. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has thought that, right?
Right.
And so after that, so then I started to take yoga, right? I got introduced to it through this amazing yoga instructor, Christina Cerna, and just kind of started to fall in love with the actual practice of yoga and realized that it's not really boring once you find the instructor that resonates with you the
Mm-hmm.
best, right? Because each person teaches it a little bit differently.
Right.
Um, and so then I decided to get actually certified in yoga, like getting my 200-hour teacher training in yoga so that I could teach yoga, not like some hybrid fitness dance type of thing that has yoga in it.
Right.
Um, and so then that started that journey. And then shortly after, I got my 500 hours. And so to me, that's like you get your undergrad and then you get your graduate degree.
Right. Right.
So,
Nice. Nice. Very good.
yeah.
So I know there's many different types of yoga. So what particular type do you teach?
So I teach vinyasa. So that's just a really fluid, connecting yoga practice. Um, I can teach others, like I can teach hatha, which focuses more on poses and you don't necessarily flow through them. I can
Mm-hmm.
teach restorative, which uses a lot of props and you're really holding these positions for a long time, but supported. It's really good for the central nervous system. And then meditation classes, I can teach those as well. But my sweet spot is vinyasa and a very powerful class. I I really shine in my advanced classes.
Nice, nice, excellent. Okay, so let's see. You teach, you do that. You're also project manager. So, what what it entailed for you to get your 500 hours? You said you got your 500 hours, which congrats. But
Thank you.
what do you have to do, or what did you have to do in order to get that 500-hour like certification type of thing?
Yeah, so it's also a little bit misleading because it's not that I do an extra 500, so you have to have that 200 hours foundational, right, teacher training.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find a school that offers a 300-hour program that satisfies the 500-hour requirements through the Yoga Alliance. And so each school is different, and my journey to that was a little interesting because I started it at Yoga Yoga, a local studio that used to be here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And I really went with that program because it was kind of um, choose your own adventure. Like you could pick whichever modules that you wanted that would add up to your 300 hours. Where most schools, it's the same curriculum. You go through it with the same people. But this one I found a little more interesting because I could pick what resonated with me the most. Like there was yoga for women's health. I was really interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Ayurveda. I was really interested in that. Yoga for injuries and for bigger bodies. I was interested in that. Um, so, but then shortly, right before I was right at the end of my 300-hour program with them, they shut down.
Oh. Ouch.
Yeah,
So did you have to start
yeah.
over somewhere else?
Luckily, Yoga Alliance made an exception because there were thousands of people that were affected by this. And we were able to transfer into another studio here in Austin. So
Nice.
I transferred into practice yoga, which was amazing because I've always wanted to practice or to learn from one of their instructors, Shanti Kelly, and the module that I to replace with, she was leading that module. So it just kind of was kismet. It just worked out perfect.
Right. Very nice. Very nice. That's
Yeah.
great. You mentioned yoga for injuries. So I know, a lot of my audience has some, either injuries from other yoga or from other exercises, other sports that they do, or coming off of like, maybe a surgery or broke a leg and stuff like that. So what is different about that type of yoga? Like what would be, you don't have to give us like a list down of exercise, but like someone comes in and they have back issues, for example. What kind of like how do you go about giving them a regimen of how to work out for that?
So the yoga for injuries uses a lot of props. You use a chair a lot, the wall, bolsters, blankets, pillows, like whatever to support yourself into that. So for example, I actually injured myself during my training. I don't know if you remember, but I tore my calf muscle.
Yee.
So I was in a boot for about a month. I couldn't walk for a couple of weeks, and I was in a boot for a month or two, um, which was at the same time I was taking the training for yoga for injuries. So it just really worked out well. I learned a
Yeah.
lot about that. So I learned a lot of chair yoga. So
Okay.
like sitting in a chair, doing the same moves that you would do standing, but having that base to support. So that's good for people that have back issues
Yeah.
that can't necessarily bend over. But, if you're going to do like a forward fold, if you're standing over, I mean, if you have back issues, you can't do that. But if you're sitting down and you're reaching for your calves or for your knees, that is still considered a forward fold because you're taking
Oh,
your body into a folded position, so
okay.
it's just, and what's crazy is before I injured myself, I was one of those that like, I am not using props are for wimps. No, no, no,
Ah,
no,
that's funny.
yeah, and that's is very common. Now I embrace the props because they actually allow you to enter the pose,
Hmm.
and you have a greater appreciation for it. So yeah, I mean, everything you can do standing, you can do seated or supported with a wall.
Okay, excellent. That sounds great. That'd be great for people who have always wanted to get into yoga, but they were always afraid because a lot of the commercials or a lot of the videos that you see, these people are doing some crazy, moves, and you're like, I'm not gonna go because I can't fold myself into that position. That's like origami. I'm not gonna do it. So it's good to hear that there's modifications that you can make for anybody. So I mean, just get up and moving. I think is really great. So let's talk about. I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna go with the normal question, then I'll go with another question. But the normal question is. You have someone that comes to you, it's their first time ever. They've never done any yoga at all. What is some of the either advice or some of the tips or tricks or something that you would tell them how to go about starting it? Because you don't want, obviously, you don't want to scare them off. You don't want to be like, all right, here, do this position and they, their leg behind their head or something, and they can't do it, and then they're gonna be like, I'm never coming back because this is ridiculous. So how would you go about like getting them going?
Yeah, so first, yoga is a practice. It's, all of those things that, you said you see videos or pictures of people and they're doing origami. They didn't start doing origami, right?
Right.
They started somewhere else. So I always tell everyone that yoga is probably one of the only physical activities that you're really competing with yourself and nobody else. And some of the shapes and postures, it's possible that your body anatomically will never be able to do them like your neighbor is doing it. And that's
Sure.
okay because it's going to do it how you can do it.
Right.
And your neighbor might see that you're doing something that they can't do yet. So, and I always say yet, because it's a practice. It's not something that happens overnight. There's one pose that took me 2 years to even kind of do.
Wow.
So yeah. And now being a proponent of props, I would also, anytime there's a new student in my class, I give them all the props, because maybe they can't bend over all the way, but if you put 2 blocks there that they can then rest their fingertips on, then it's accessible for them.
That's great.
Or maybe they're on their back, we're on our backs and they have hip issues, then I roll up a blanket and place it underneath their knees. And that really helps release some of the pressure from their hips.
Sure.
So it's really just explaining to them that it's a journey, and even someone that's been practicing for 50 years still has growth in their practice.
No, that's great advice. So I hope there's a lot of people out there that are listening that will take up on that advice and get out there, because I know you gotta do something. So I mean, just sitting around, especially during this time, you gotta be out. You gotta do something, otherwise you'll get that COVID 50 weight gain. And
I'm battling the COVID 15 right now. So 15 came, 10 went away, 7 came back, 5 went away.
Vicious cycle. Hate that cycle. Great. Yeah. So, all right. So, last question before I go into the movie questions that I ask most of my interviewees. There's been a lot of there seems to be a lot of up and down with, for want of a better word, like fads of different types of yoga that come out, and then all of a sudden they become, they're the hot button thing. One of them that I kept getting, either someone I was dating or friends of mine would be like, let's go do the hot yoga. And so they want to go, and I'm like, I can go, this is Texas, I can just go outside. I don't need to go anywhere to get, hot yoga. I can just do it outside. But, so what are your thoughts? Just you don't have to like diss it or give it loud comments or compliments, but what are your thoughts on something like the hot yoga, that there's still some around, but I noticed that a lot of them have gone away?
Yeah, so actually when I was teaching in the studio, my class is heated, so it's not necessarily hot yoga as in Bikram or a set sequence. So there's two different avenues. There's hot yoga that's like based on Bikram, which is a set sequence. You're in about 101 to 105 degree room with about, I think, 60% humidity, right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's the same. Yeah. And it's the same sequence each time. And Yoga Pod has something very similar. It's called Pod Hot, and it's the same sequence each time. Before my injury, I was not a fan of those set sequence classes. But after my injury, I started to do that class first. That was my first reintroduction into yoga. And what I appreciated about it is I could see my progress over time because I'm doing the same thing each class.
Right. Gotcha.
So it has its benefits. So there's that appreciation, and that's really great for people who are that A-type personality and just want to do, want to excel at something, and they can track their progress. But then like vinyasa, you can have that in a heated room where my classes are around 90 degrees with, I think, 40% humidity or 60%. I don't know. It's a little paper on the wall. Can't remember. It's been since March.
No worries.
So what I think about yoga is that because there are so many different varieties, I mean, I teach another methodology called 11-11, which the whole class is a palindrome, and there's some cardio in there, and it's just amazing. And you do it to like really sick hip hop music that appeals to, it appeals to somebody. Sure. And it might not appeal to the person who wants to do restorative, but it appeals to somebody who is sitting at home getting the COVID 50, but loves like hip hop, right?
Right.
So I'm a proponent of all the different variations of yoga because there's so many different variations of people.
Sure. Wow, that's great. I didn't think about that, but I did notice that a lot of the hot ones went away. But now that they're inside of actual like your studio and other thing like that, that makes a lot more sense. Some of these were just like fly by night. Hey, we're doing hot
Mhm.
yoga, and we'll kind of do some poses, whatever. But that happens with any industry. Anything, especially the exercise industry. Hot fly by night. I can do it. I can teach it, and then there's injuries, and then people get tired of it and they go away. So I'm glad that it's
Yep.
inside of an actual studio that teaches a broad spectrum of
Yep.
yoga. So that's excellent. Okay, so I appreciate your time on the yoga, but now is the time where I'm going to ask you two questions. Good
Okay.
questions. Don't worry. Good question. I won't put you on the spot. So the first question is, tell me two movies that you would, and I ask this of most of my people I interview, so just letting you know, give me two movies that are your go-to movies, like two movies that you can watch again and again and again.
Wedding Crashers.
Oh, that's a
Can
good one.
can watch it over and over and over again. I mean, there's so many. Forrest Gump is one. No
Okay.
matter how many times I watch it, there's something new that I didn't realize happened the last time, and I've seen it like millions of times.
Yeah,
So
excellent.
yeah, those would
Okay.
be go-to.
And I know there's more. And we'll eventually I'll go back around and other podcasts and I'll try to get everybody that I've interviewed and try to get them more movie things. So final question, what is a movie that people would be surprised that you actually love and watch?
Oh, I don't know if people would be surprised about this, but let me think. There's two ways to go with this, so I'm actually going to cheat. There's the Twilight series movies. Some people might some
I am
see.
surprised. I am surprised.
Yeah, I read all the books and
Okay.
I watch them anytime that they're on TV. Like when I'm flipping through and and then I sit down and me and my daughter watch them like we've never seen them before.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and then on the flip side is the Lord of the Rings series because everybody
Oh,
knows that like I'm a rom-com person. So then,
right.
Lord of the Rings is not rom-com at
It
all.
is
But
not rom-com.
yeah,
So now that one I am surprised. That one I am really
yeah.
surprised. That's a good one and that's a good series too. So
It's a good
uh
series. I kind of got tricked into that series
yeah.
because it came out when me and my husband were dating. The first one, I don't think we were married yet. Maybe we were married. I don't know. It was early in our relationship, and we used to work this job where we worked 5 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So every
Oh,
Friday we would go to the movies
yeah.
at 1:30, after we got off because
Yeah.
nobody was there. So we went to go see the first Lord of the Rings. Had no idea it was a trilogy. So the movie just ended, and I was like, oh, what happened? And he was like, well, now we have to wait for the next one. I was like, what? There's another? He's like, there's three. And I was like,
Oh, that's so awesome.
so
Oh, that's
that's how,
awesome.
because that was not a book. I mean, not a movie I would have normally watched, but we,
No.
compromised. So each one week we would watch what I wanted to watch, the other was his, and that was
Nice.
it.
That's a great way to grow the relationship too. So, and we'll have a relationship podcast down the line as well. So we'll be doing a lot of that. So
Oh,
great.
cool.
Miranda, it was fantastic to talk to you, to see you again, and to talk to you
Yeah, it's been
about
a
something
while.
you're passionate about. And so, for everybody, that was Yoga Pod. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, and I'll have a link at the end of the podcast, so that everybody can see it and can go to it. Take her class, even if you're a beginner. She knows what she's doing. She has the materials that you can use. So go and visit and tell her that Javier sent you. So Miranda, once again, thanks, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, interview Hub. So, really great interview there with Miranda talking about yoga, how to get going in yoga, and how basically you just want to, for all intents and purposes, is move. You wanna stay active. The older we all get, which includes me, the older we all get, the more we wanna try to stay active. We wanna try to stay agile. We wanna try to stay limber. So yoga is a great way to do that. You don't have to do start outs, or you can start out small and slow. Like she said, she has equipment that you can use. She talks about the chairs and talks about all that. So even if you, like we talked about in the interview, even if you see these guys bending over into a pretzel and they're doing that move and you're like, I'm never going to do that move, this is not for me, that's not true. I want you to just take things with a grain of salt and be willing to be open to new ideas. If you've never done yoga before, if you're having difficulty moving, your joints are stiff every morning, and so you have problems to get going. You're having difficulties maybe walking because of any health issues you may have had, or physical joint issue problems, or anything like that. Yoga is a great way to get everything moving, everything in your body moving, get that limberness going, and being able to then perhaps going back to walking. I myself have done yoga on and off for years. Nothing on that level at all, by the way, just not even close. But just something to try to keep my knees moving and fluid, and allowing myself to have a little bit more maneuverability, even when it just comes to walking, or when it comes to working out and doing some of the exercises that I do. Another great thing that I am trying to get back into is Tai Chi, and so we might have an episode about that at a later point. So if you liked what you saw that I put the uh, website for YogaPod, and Miranda does teach those in those classes at YogaPod. So feel free to drop in and let her know that you saw her and you're interested in learning. She's there, more than willing to help out any and everyone that comes to her, and it's a great place. So if you're looking for a new yoga place, this may be the one for you. And so go ahead and try it out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic, and this is going to be for all those people that were asking me about it and talking about it from last week. I'm bringing back Zaida, and Two Doors Down Zaida, and we are going to see the beautiful work that she did on those cards, and how you too can do those cards. That's why she gave you the tutorial. If you've never done the cards before, she is more than willing to help out, and all you have to do is contact her. And if you want to contact her, just leave a comment or something on my podcast on this episode, and I will get you to her. And that way, both of you can just talk and talk about the cards. For those of you who may already know how to do some of the cards, you got to see what she wound up doing. I think it's fantastic. It's all cool. Some of them are really grotesque, so it's fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and send that over to On the Road Hav, and he's gonna be showing you the output from Zaida's efforts on doing the cards. So here we go. Hey everybody, so we're now looking at Zaida's results of the cards that she did. Wow, look at that one. These are awesome. So this is something that she showed in the tutorial on how you can make these. Pull back for that one. These will be going out to friends and family of Zaida's. You too can make some like these. Awesome, I gotta pull back to see that one better. Scary stuff. This is awesome. So if you haven't watched it yet, go to last week's episode called Craft and Beer, and Zaida can show you how you can do this fantastic artwork also. And we're back. So great, fantastic stuff. Thanks again, Zaida, for allowing me to show your effort, and what a great effort it was for those cards. So for those of you that are part of the Honeybee Quilt Shop, you know how to get a hold of Zaida. So if you want to get information from her on how to do it, or you want to just talk to her about it, and let her know, give her kudos for what she did, then just reach out to her. If people want to learn more about how to do it, you can watch last week's episode, which was on craft and beer, and you can also just contact me, and I will reach out to Zaida, and then she can contact you, and we'll go from there. So now what I'm going to do without further ado is we're going to go into the beer section, and I have a special for you guys. I went ahead and went out this week to visit Scott and Jana out at the Brewtique, and this is my interview with them and talking about beer. Hey everybody, out here at the Brewtique. This is the one I've been telling you about. This is the one I did all the reviews for. So we're here with Scott. Scott, you want to tell a little bit about yourself and how you got this place going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I've been, my name is Scott Smith. I'm the owner, operator of the Brewtique. I've been in the beer industry about 22 years prior to opening up this little bottle shop we have here. Just been in the beer business for a long time and decided that I wanted to kind of get out of those other two tiers of the system and kind of open up my own retail place. So
Sweet.
about 13 months ago, opened up the Brewtique.
Excellent. And was that all here in Texas, or where were you doing some of that beer stuff?
I spent 5 years at a distributor here in Texas, a little further north in Temple, Texas, and then we moved to the East Coast and worked for a distributor there for roughly 13 years, and then worked for a brewery there for a year. I was the territory sales manager for the state of Maryland and DC.
Nice.
And then moved back to Texas a little over 3 years ago, and have worked for a couple of small boutique distributors, a couple of breweries in the area, and then just decided I was done with that. Wanted to open up my own thing.
Sounds great. So tell me a little bit about the how you decide on getting the beers in. How do you do that?
Well, obviously the beers are very seasonal, so we want to make sure that we've got a good selection of seasonal beers, limited beers, rare beers. I look a lot at the distributors' inventories, making sure that we have a good array of styles. You know, if somebody comes in looking for a blonde ale, a saison, a Belgian beer, this, a stout, you know, the IPAs are obviously prevalent. There's a good bit of those. Hazy, West Coast, East Coast, different variations of tons of different styles of beers.
Excellent, excellent. I see up here you got the new arrivals. Good.
Yep.
So someone could just walk in, and if they don't want to say anything, they can just look and point or grab.
The new arrivals are there. They're usually, we go probably about 2 weeks. And then they end up going into just the regular inventory if they're still here.
Sure.
But yeah.
Very cool. So talk me through this area over here that I like a lot.
We've got this is the dry shelf. As you can see, we as new things come in, we get several deliveries every week. I try to keep a little bit of the holes there for new beers that come in, so I can, keep it full. We've got more deliveries coming in tomorrow. We've got more deliveries coming in on Friday.
Excellent.
And as these holes are there, almost kind of by design, just so I can fill them with new stuff.
Excellent. I know for the viewers, and if you've been seeing the reviews, here's Golden Monkey that I was talking to Candace about a couple weeks ago. She was drinking one during the interview, so she was talking about it. And then you've seen some of these. Everything rhymes with orange. If you've been watching some of the reviews, taco truck. I just like saying taco truck, and so very cool. And what about on the cold?
So the cold, the first two singles doors here. There's 140 different single beers here.
140?
140.
I still got more to do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So each row is 10 different beers. There's 140 different single beers here. Plus we have another section with some import singles.
Yep.
Some other high-end singles. So we probably have at any given point about 160 to 165 different single cold beers.
Fantastic. And then I see you have specific Texas beers?
Yeah, about, so Austin, and we go as far as like San Antonio beers will kind of fall in here.
Okay.
New Braunfels beers will fall in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then another door of Austin, Dallas, Houston, and just sort of geographically whatever is sort of closer.
Excellent. I was just at Circle Brewery. We had a little review of them last week. And then we were also at Hop Squad.
Oh, nice.
So we decided to break or still do social distance, but go there. Okay, so let me throw this at you. Someone walks in, and believe it or not, they're gonna say, "I've never had a beer before in my life, but I want to start, and I want something that will gradually build my palate into something I can go with." What's a nice couple of like light beer? We don't want to go heavy. A couple of light tasting beers that someone who hasn't either had beer in a long time or is only used to their one beer or never had beer, what would be a couple of good beers to look at?
I mean, if you've never had a beer before.
I know it's rare, but let's just say that.
If you've never had a beer before, I would start off something small or lighter, a little less aggressive taste profile. Like there's a blonde ale, is a good one to start with.
This Vitality one?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, as a blonde ale. There's something like, obviously, Austin Beer Works, Pearl Snap.
Yep.
Super easy, light, refreshing, crisp. Last Stand has a couple of them. Vaquero, which is their Mexican lager.
Yeah, I've had Vaquero.
Their Craftsman Light, Fireman's 4 Light, Fireman's 4. These are sort of like introductory, I think, into the craft world sort of beers.
Excellent.
Kind of get your palate, and then you sort of gradually go up from that to an amber, maybe a porter, then a stout, and then you can gradually get into them IPAs and sours and
I hear you, brother.
beers.
I hear you. All right, so you said you had some rare beers. So what's one of your rarest beers you got here?
So this rack over here is where I try to keep mainly, some of the limited stuff, stuff that comes out that's sort of one-off or limited. And a lot of the times, they don't last very long because people realize that they are rare and limited. This, not from Texas, but this is Funk Factory Gazeria. This is Framswort. This is essentially the same folks that make Untitled Art.
Okay, yeah. I've had a couple of their beers.
Super crazy, ridiculously brewed. Tastes kind of like a fine wine.
Wow.
Some of the Jester Kings. It really just depends. We've got like 903s, Chupacabra, the 2.0. That's kind of like their newest one.
Nice. I see you got the clown shoes right next to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
So always a good one. Excellent. All right. Well, let's see. Last question I'm going to throw at you for the interview is, give me 5 of your go-to beers. Not saying that we're in any particular order because we don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings. But 5 go-to beers for you that you have currently in your suitcase, in your drawer, ready to go.
Let's see. So I've honestly been on a lager kick lately.
Okay. Let's go with it.
That and or sours. So there's, let's see, where's he at? This is OEC Brewing. This is their Cool Ship Lager.
Oh.
It's pretty interesting how that kind of comes to play.
Yeah, nice.
That guy, let's see. There's also the Taco Truck.
Taco Truck, I did a review on it. Yeah,
the Taco
yeah,
Truck.
yeah. There it is right there. That is a good lager.
Let's see. Sour World, I've been liking this. The Avery, the Pomona. That's the barrel-aged tart ale.
I have to say, these cans are so interesting. This is how I used to grab and review the beers, by the way, audience, is just whichever one seemed the coolest, I would grab.
And then the 2 sours right now that I really like is this Three Nations Sucker Punch. It's sour brewed with sour watermelon straws.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Salty Pirate right there next to it, which is a strawberry lemonade sherbet.
Wow.
Sherbet goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So very cool.
We got St. Elmo's Carl. That's another good one as far as like a lager that I've been drinking.
Nice. That's Kolsch. Yeah. Very cool. Well, excellent. All right. Well, I think we have shown the audience enough beers. I think they have a good thing to go by. By the way, Brewtique is out here in Cedar Park and off of Cypress Creek Road. in the same building as the Dig Pub, as I've been saying to everyone. So be sure and come out and visit. And if you need to, you got the expert right here, Scott, and he'll tell you what beers will be interesting to go with. And until the next time, I'm sure we'll be coming back because we'll be talking about pumpkin beers and other things, and I'll be getting some more expert advice from Scott. So thanks, everybody. Hey, everyone. So that was Scott out there at the Brewtique. If you haven't visited him before, and I know I say it time and time again, he's here in Cedar Park, right off of Cypress Creek, right before you hit Bell on Cypress Creek, in the same building as the Dig Pub. So the Brewtique has fantastic beers available for you in singles or in 6-packs, and go and say hi to them. Let them know that I sent you. That'll just give you maybe a wave or anything, but I mean that's special anyway, isn't it? And then enjoy the beer. They do allow some seating, social distance, of course. Masks are imposed unless you're actually drinking. So definitely, if you're a connoisseur of beer, like I like to think I am, I'm probably not, but I like to think I am, and my brother does as well. Then go out and try some of the beers. I guarantee you, they carry more beers than you will see at your local store. Now, maybe Total Wine may offer different beers, not the same amount. They may have the same amount, I don't know, but they'll offer different beers because they're trying to reach more of the audience that brought them to Total Wine in the first place, which are the general beers that you see. Some of these beers you're definitely not going to find out at a Total Wine or a Specs or Twin Liquors and stuff like that. No offense to them, but you're just not going to find it. There's a reason why this is called a bottle shop. You can find some of the best, maybe obscure, they're huge somewhere else, but they're not big in the Texas area, and Scott more than likely will have it for you. If not, he's going to know what that type of beer is, and he's going to be able to provide you with at least 2 or 3 other examples that you can then try out. I myself just picked up some more pumpkin beer, and so I will be having some pumpkin beer review for the month of October. And so I want to thank everybody who participated in this podcast this week. Miranda Goins, and go out there to Yoga Pod. To Zaida once again for showing us the fantastic cards that she got. To Scott and Jana out there at the Brewtique, thanks again for letting me go out there and see some of those fantastic beers and pick up some more. And so this is it, another exciting episode in the books. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great week. And please remember, if you want to participate in the pumpkin carving, just let me know. We're going into October next week, and we will start the spooky month of podcasts. So be on the lookout for that. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.